Welcome to Hollywood Bulletin, your go-to source for stories that peel back the silver screen and reveal the secrets Hollywood tried to hide. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most iconic films in cinematic history, Casablanca. This 1942 classic has long been considered a flawless example of storytelling, romance, and resistance, but the truth behind its making is even more gripping than what we saw on screen. From lost scenes and intense censorship to frantic rewrites and even a botched colorization decades later, this is the real story of the forbidden moments and hidden history of Casablanca, the film Hollywood tried to sanitize and reshape again. And again, the story of Casablanca began not in a Hollywood studio, but in 1938 with Murray Burnett, a New York schoolteacher who traveled to Nazi-occupied Vienna to help his Jewish relatives. Later, in a small town in France, he visited a cafe where refugees, Nazis, and locals all mingled, the air heavy with jazz played by a black pianist. That real-life experience inspired the setting for a play Burnett co-wrote with Joan Allison, called Everybody Comes to Rick's. Interestingly, Rick Blaine wasn't a nightclub owner, he was a lawyer, and Ilsa was originally named Lois, a bold and flirtatious woman, quite different from the more reserved movie version. Despite its anti-Nazi message, no one in Broadway wanted it. Producers worried that Lois might seem too sexually manipulative, particularly around the topic of exchanging intimacy for letters of transit. Then fate intervened. Just one day after the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, the script landed on a desk at Warner Brothers. Story editor Irene Diamond saw potential and flagged it to producer Hal B. Wallis, who immediately saw a timely opportunity. Warner Bros. Bought the rights for a record-breaking $20,000, the most ever paid for an unproduced play at the time. Still, nobody expected Casablanca to be anything more than another studio picture. Humphrey Bogart didn't think much of it, it was just one of 4 films he worked on in 1942. Ingrid Bergman only accepted her role because she couldn't get cast in For Whom the Bell Tolls. When filming started on May 25, 1942, the script wasn't even finished. Writers were sending in fresh pages daily, and lines like "Here's looking at you, kid" were improvised on the spot. The ending wasn't finalized until just days before the premiere, and even then, 3 different versions were filmed, including one where Rick dies. Bergman was often confused on set, not knowing whether her character would end up with Rick or Victor Laszlo. She even brought 2 outfits for the final airport scene, one glamorous fur coat if she stayed with Rick, and a plain suit if she left with Victor. She didn't know which to wear until just before filming. Bogart, too, had his doubts, feeling too old and too much like a gangster to play a romantic lead. At 5'8", he was shorter than Bergman, so he wore platform shoes and once tripped over them mid-scene. The director, Michael Curtiz, added to the chaos. His thick Hungarian accent caused constant confusion. He famously requested a poodle for a scene when he actually meant puddle of water. And when he told Bogart to make love to her with your hat on, no one had any idea what he meant until he clarified, like an American. Despite all the madness, the studio saw a golden opportunity when, in November 1942, Allied forces invaded North Africa, including Casablanca itself. Warner Bros. Rushed the film to theaters to capitalize on the buzz. The airport scene was shot on a tiny set using a model plane and little people as extras to make it look larger. Fog was added to hide the limitations, creating one of the film's most iconic visuals, but then came the censors. Joseph Breen, head of the Hollywood Production Code, demanded major changes. Gone were any hints of Rick's cafe being a brothel. The word hell was changed to "What are you doing here?" and even broad was deemed too offensive. Captain Renault's scenes, which implied he traded visas for sex, were heavily edited. Even Bergman's dresses were scrutinized, cleavage had to go. One deleted scene even showed Rick trying to sell letters of transit for money while a desperate man begged him for help. Test audiences hated it. Rick came off too cold, and the studio cut it just 48 hours before the premiere. There was also a scene with bartender Sasha mixing a drink laced with gunpowder to prank a German officer. While Bogart loved the scene because it showed Rick's quiet rebellion, it was cut for being too risky both politically and because it delayed Ilsa's entrance. When Casablanca finally premiered in New York in November 1942, none of the stars showed up. Bogart was afraid of flying, and Bergman was on Broadway. Still, President Roosevelt saw it before his historic meeting with Churchill and was reportedly moved to tears by the La Marseillaise scene. Despite a lukewarm box office start, the film earned 8 Oscar nominations and won 3, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. Critics and audiences eventually recognized it as a masterpiece, but international versions didn't always honor that legacy. When the film aired in post-war Germany in 1952, 20 minutes were cut. All Nazi references were removed. Characters' names and motivations were changed. Even the ending was altered. Rick didn't kill Major Strasser because Strasser had been removed from the film entirely. In 1988, Ted Turner caused an uproar by releasing a colorized version of Casablanca. Despite spending over $450,000 to digitally color every frame, fans were outraged. Bogart's white tuxedo became powder blue, shadows were lost, and mistakes like Bergman's dress changing colors mid-scene didn't help. Critics slammed it. Roger Ebert called it drawing a mustache on the Mona Lisa, and protesters picketed theaters. Congress even held hearings on colorization in 1989. Facing intense backlash, Turner quietly shelved the project through all its lost scenes last minute. Rewrites and censorship struggles Casablanca has endured. Its imperfections, compromises, and even the things it had to leave out somehow made it more powerful, a film of glances, silence, and unspoken love. It's a reminder that sometimes the best stories are those born out of chaos. Thanks for watching Hollywood Bulletin. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Casablanca's hidden history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a moment of Hollywood's untold legends. Let us know your favorite Casablanca moment in the comments below. See you next time.